Meeting of the Interim Joint Budget Review Subcommittee on Education to order. At this time, we'll have Amy call the roll.
Senator Neal, Senator West,
Here.
Representative Baker, here. Representative Bojanowski,
Here.
Representative Bowling, Representative Brown,
Here.
Representative Kleins, Representative Truitt, here. Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Representative Bray, Representative Petrie, Representative Lewis, Representative McCool, Representative Tipton, Representative Banta,
Present.
Representative Riley, Chair Rawlings.
Here. All right, ready? So we do have a quorum. So members being given time to review meeting minutes prior to the meeting, I will now hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 20th, 2025. There's a motion and a second. Got it. Okay, today is U.S. Constitution Day, something that we should celebrate more. Today marks the 238th anniversary of the signing of the U.S. Constitution. So I wanted to offer something that I just received this morning as a prayer. On this Constitution Day, we thank God for the wisdom and courage our founders who gave us liberty under the law. We also remember our brother in Christ, Charlie Kirk, taken from us too soon. Lord, guide us to honor his passion for truth by standing firm in faith and civility. May we use our freedom not for division but for service. And may your hand continue to bless this nation. So today, we're here to focus on Kentucky's own Constitution, specifically in Section 183, it provides for an efficient system of common schools throughout the state. That phrase, common schools, has guided Kentucky's education policy for more than a century. But our history shows that common schools have never meant only one thing. So we have consistently expanded opportunity through innovation. So Chairman Tipton, would you come on up and testify? And he's going to testify concerning that principle of opportunity through innovation, and he's going to discuss the model schools and some of the other schools that we have in existence.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Take those glasses off so I can see you all more
You're
clearly
excused.
this morning. I think I could be all right for a while. I am James Tipton, House District 53, and Chairman Rollins did ask me to speak a little bit about some of the history. Of course, right now, and I know they're on the agenda later, we only have one model laboratory school in Kentucky. That's at Eastern Kentucky University. Now, I understand historically, many, or most, if not all of our comprehensive schools, with the exception of Northern, they came into the system later, used to have a model school. And real briefly, what a model school does, and they're going to explain it, is you have an opportunity for the students who are studying to be teachers to have their classroom experiences, and they can take that information and they can put that directly, excuse me here. Well, I wrote some notes down, but they didn't make it with me, but that's all right. I think I remember them. To apply that in the classroom. Now, I was at the groundbreaking up in Richmond earlier this year for a new model laboratory school. That's going to be of an investment. Started out was going to be about $90 million. That wound up being about about 140 some million. They can give you those exact numbers. And so that is under construction now. So that is the only model laboratory school. Now, when you think of the model school, that is a K-12 school. There are students there. A lot of them are students, faculty members, people in the community. I would call that a hybrid model from what we have in our traditional part of the common school. Now, Representative Frazier introduced legislation a couple of years ago to kind of clarify how those schools are funded. They do get a state appropriation from the state every year, and those students also pay tuition, which is not typically part of our typical what we refer to as the public schools. So they're kind of a hybrid approach, and I'll let them explain that a little bit more. Now, we've also added some schools in the past at our post-secondary institutions to try to provide support for those students, those higher quality students. It started out the Gatton Academy down at Western, has been there for many years. More recently, the Craft Academy has been established at Moorhead. And those schools, both of them get an appropriation, I believe in the $4+ million range, $4 to $5 million range per year. So we're investing in those schools to help finance them. And those school students would go there their junior and senior year of high school. They would leave those Craft and Gatton with an associate's degree, and they kind of focus on things like science, math, technology. I know Craft is real big in aeronautics, so those, I'll call them innovative schools for those. Now, not any student can go to those schools. They have to apply. They have to meet certain qualifications academically to be in those schools. So we do have options. If you look across our public schools, districts across the state, many districts have what they call magnet schools that specialize in a particular area. So we've seen a lot of options, and I think it's important for us to understand that not every student learns the same way. There are certain students that maybe have a particular interest in a certain area. Maybe they excel at a certain area. And I think it's important for us to offer them opportunities. Not every student learns in the same way. We're also are seeing some virtual schools across the state. We have the computer science program now. You've probably heard Ms. Alicia Keys here and talk about that. She actually testified in the Education Committee yesterday on that. So this allows students who attend a public school to take classes virtually in these computer science classes and work toward credentials and get dual credit for that. So we have a lot of options out there, and I think we need to continue to explore the options. And I understand that Senator West is next on the agenda to talk about Senate Bill 207, which passed this session, dealing with schools of innovation. So unless anybody has any questions, I'll defer my time to him.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you for that, Chairman Tipton. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve West, 27th District. Thanks for having me here today. You requested me to do a brief look back of kind of school choice in Kentucky, where we've been, what happened last year. I don't know about you guys, but when I pass a bill, I don't always remember what we passed. So I have to go back eventually, kind of look at what we did, and so that's what we're doing today with 207. But the chairman also asked me to give just a basic reminder of what we did with charter schools. So several years ago, I think in 2017, we passed a charter school bill in Kentucky, which gave districts the opportunity to have a charter school. We worked really hard on that. Across the country, there are 44 other states that have charter schools. So this is not a blue state, red state thing. It's all across the country. Everywhere you look in your life, choice is almost always better. And so whether it's the car you drive or the movie you go to or whatever, we demand choices. But for some reason in K through 12, it's been pretty stagnant and there's a lack of choice. And so we felt that was a good thing to do. The bill passed. As you know, it's been in the courts for several years for various issues. But at the end of the day, the way it works is an entity wishing to do a charter school needs to apply to the local district. You go through a set of parameters. If you meet the parameters, the district is supposed to automatically approve the charter. If they don't automatically approve the charter, then there's a room for appeal to the state level. It's appealed to the state level, same deal. If you meet these preset parameters, you shall be given a charter school designation to operate in that district. Currently, there are no charter schools in Kentucky, and it's been pretty stagnant since that time. With that as the backdrop, we had our House Bill 2 initiative that failed at the state level, and so we felt that we wanted to do anything we could to innovate, promote innovation, promote more choice in the state. And so last year I proposed SB 207, the School of Innovation Act. That act was based on a law in South Carolina, and the idea came from our many SREB conferences that we go to. The way it worked in South Carolina, the city of Charleston schools, much like Louisville, it was a large public system, but you had schools at the lower end who were not performing, and they were not performing over a long period of time. And so one of the senators proposed this innovative deal where a third-party entity could come into the district, apply to be a school of innovation. The district would have to approve that, but with that, the for lack of a better term, seek money would flow down to the school. But in exchange for that, for taking on this lower level school, receiving the seek dollars, they could apply for waivers of certain bureaucracies and regulations related to education. And so we were, Co-Chair Tipton and I were at a particular school in Charleston, and they gave us the full review of how it worked, and it's been tremendously successful there. So though that particular school that was at the bottom is now 80 to 90% on level, huge results very quickly, and so we wanted to try to replicate that here. And so we've basically done that with SB 207 that we passed last year. A district can take a contract or request from a third party. They can do this on their own and approve that contract. And in exchange for seek money flowing down, they can apply for certain waivers to the State Board of Education. And if those waivers are granted, they're free to innovate. They're free to do new things and think outside the box and elevate the game of those schools that have been left behind. And so I'm going to end there, but one key positive, probably maybe the biggest positive for me, is this 207 will allow outside private investment into the public system. And so once you have the contract in place, it's almost like an adopt a school. If an entity chooses to adopt the school, the seek money will flow down, the other money will flow down, but also it can be plussed up with outside investment from interested third parties who want to see that particular school succeed. And so this was a way for us to innovate, do something different with the failure of HB2. I didn't know if this would see the same fate as our charter schools where you just put it on a shelf and let it sit there and nothing happened, but I'm happy to report I've already had 2 different entities reach out to me and speak to me about this who are very interested in starting something in Kentucky and getting this thing rolling. So with that, I'll leave it there, and I'm open to any questions.
That's the question I had. So you've had 2 schools, districts indicate that they're interested in pursuing
2
this.
entities. I'll put
entities.
2. Yeah. So these are you have groups of people that band together who are interested in public education, and so I'm not at liberty to say who they are at this time, but
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish what the definition of charter schools are when we've got so many alternatives out there now and so many innovative programs, but why aren't they described as charter schools? What's the difference?
That's the name we gave them. That was the title of the bill. It's a charter school, but with a different twist.
Yeah.
Our charter bill was entirely public charters. So other states have the ability to do private charters, but those other states don't have the constitutional requirements that we have pertaining to common schools. And so in 2017, when we passed that, we purposely mandated that it be public charters only in order to comply with the Constitution. But this is just a different twist or variation. In this particular situation, you're giving the district more power to direct their fate, basically. And so it was another effort at innovation and choice within the public system. But it's similar. It is similar to a public charter.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions? To Representative Truitt.
So, just a clarification, with these entities, would they have to take all kids, or would they have the opportunity of choosing who attends their school? Like for example, the example in South Carolina, I'm not sure, but do they take all kids, or do they just take certain students?
All kids within reason. Our public charter bill did the same thing. We've said in there, I can't remember the exact requirements, but he can probably chime in on this. But we made sure that you couldn't cherry pick, basically, with the charter school bill. This is the same. You can't cherry pick. You basically the way this works, you're focused on that particular school. With 207, it's one school. Like, you take over that school, so you're not setting up new schools per se. It's with an existing school within the system. So really, whatever their makeup of kids is. Now, it is within the framework of our enrollment standards that we already have, like open enrollment. So the same standards apply to that school as apply to any other public school. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're still open to new kids coming in under the open borders legislation that we passed.
Mr. Chair, if I could add,
Yes.
I believe it was House Bill 520. It was Charter Bill in 17. In that bill, any student in a district could apply to attend that charter school, and if they had more applications than they had room for enrollment, there'd be a lottery process. So it was open to everybody. In this bill, you're taking an existing school with an existing geographical boundary for where their students come from. You're not changing that. The only thing that's changing is who is the management of the school and the ability to apply for these waivers. Now, prior to 207, we did have statutes on the book for what were referred to as districts of innovation. Those were 5-year contracts, and I believe we had 4 or 5 districts that did use this. I've actually talked to one of the former superintendents a couple of years ago about this, and what he told me was that what they found out was in the way the District of Innovation statute was drafted, they could already do they could already apply for the waivers already regardless of that. So really, they didn't see. So none of those schools reapplied. It just sat there dormant. I think the main difference in this bill is the 207 is the ability of an outside entity to come in. As an example, in Charleston, they hired a principal from Chicago, Illinois. They brought him into this school district, which was probably 80-90% free and reduced lunch, probably 70-80% minority population, and he was a white guy from Chicago. But he got in there and worked. He applied certain principles. The one thing that he did, he didn't worry about school bus schedules or discipline. The only thing he did was he was in the classroom mentoring teachers all day long. That's what he did. He had other people that did those other things, and they had a strategy, and a School of Innovation came up with their own strategy to try and make an improvement. And these schools, that if a district's got a school that's just not is not up to par, this is just an option for them to pursue.
Thank you.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that choice and wanting to educate all of the children in the Commonwealth of Kentucky is a worthy ambition, and I think it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm wary of how charters and exceptions to the rules will leave some children out. And I would be concerned about that as far as the children who socioeconomically are on the lower scale and are underachieving, that they have every opportunity, be given every opportunity to achieve and be the best that they can possibly be.
Sure. I can respond to that pretty simply. So if you're a wealthy parent in Kentucky, you already have school choice. You've always had school choice. You could send your kid to a private school. You can send them to a parochial school. You've always had that ability. It's kind of the opposite here. This is school choice. This gives an opportunity for school choice to kids at the lower end of the economic spectrum. And so we've done some traveling over the years to view some of these schools. Another example I'll give you really quick to your point. We went to a elementary charter in Indianapolis, and same deal. This was a school in the bad part of town. 80-90% free and reduced lunch, many ESL students, on and on and on. And so this entity took over that school. You walk into the school, you could eat off the floor. The kids were happy in their classrooms. They were in white outfits, having a good time. In a short period of time, they took a low-performing school and it was 90% on level. 90% on level. Complete turnaround. And one of the big things they did was parental involvement. And so, they, like in a lower socioeconomic area town, let's say, people would say it's hard to get parents involved. But one of the programs they had was that teacher made the point to reach out to these parents and didn't give up. And when you walked out of the school, the people coming in the school weren't exactly your suburban type parents coming in. A lot of tattoos, a lot of, a little bit different characters. But those parents were involved in their kids' education, and they were engaged. And so they were very innovative in what they were doing. So to answer your question, I think this is really good for those kids that frankly have been left behind for years and years. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to follow up, I think that we have to be concerned about theory to practice and what actually will happen in terms of the children and their learning and what happens as a result of that. Some parents don't have the financial resources, but they do want what's best for their children. And I think that is what we have with the Constitution that says that we must provide a common education. If we pull the state out, what is to prohibit? If we pull the state out of common education, public education, what then happens? What resource do parents have that don't have the resources and don't have the connections to the private charters that you're speaking of?
Yeah, so everything we've passed so far does not pull the state out. And in this, speaking specifically about the Schools of Innovation 207, my bill from last year, this setup, this school has more accountability than the public schools. And the accountability comes in with the contract. They have a contract for a limited period of time. And so at the end of that contract period, if there are problems with the school, if they're not performing, if it's a train wreck, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, that district can pull their contract. And so there's accountability built into the contract. If you have a public school that hasn't been performing for 25 years, you can't pull their contract. There's really little to no accountability except at the school board level, election level, the superintendent of the school board. That's pretty much your only accountability. So really, I think 207 goes a step further in embedding accountability into the bill. So,
Mr. Chair, if I could add one point, Representative Brown. In Senate Bill 207, the entity that makes the decision to start a school of innovation is the school board in that district. They're the ones that make the decision. They initiate the process that they want to do this. Now, if they have a third party come in, it's up to them to negotiate with them. As you said, there's a contract. There are certain things that can't be waived, like school safety, things like that. They're not allowed to be waived. But it's up to that school board to make that decision. So it's local accountability. So I just wanted to point that out.
Representative Bojanowski.
All right, so effectively, we would subcontract the management of a specific school to an outside entity, correct? So that's exactly what a charter school is.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but there's differences. Like I said before, you could call this you could call it a charter school if you want, but the main difference is the initiation of the request by the local district. This bill gives the local district more control than our previous charter school bill does. Really, it's a way. It's another way for the district to innovate and do something different, but go through maybe less paperwork, less work than the charter school bill. But yeah, you could call it a variation.
May I ask a follow-up?
Yes, proceed.
Okay. So is there anything that this entity could do that a school district couldn't choose to do in that building in the same way?
Yes, and so if they apply for the waivers, and so the district must follow state law. They must follow administrative regulations. As you're well aware, the book of our KDE regulations is not small, and so anything that restricts them from being innovative or operating, they can request a waiver, except for a list of finite things we set out in the bill, attendance policies and school safety and on and on. But as long as it's not on this list of required regulations or guardrails, they're free to go outside that.
One more brief question.
Briefly.
Okay. Would the teachers in that building still be employees of the district and potentially be under the same collective bargaining, et cetera?
I'm not sure about collective bargaining, but I can answer they are employees of the district, and they, as far as their pensions and all that would all stay the same.
Okay.
So they would still be required to make the KTR's contributions
Right.
and that sort of thing. So, you would be free to pay them more. Okay, so you could.
Because that would be one.
There's that aspect of it, and that's actually a key aspect of this too. Is it allows innovation at that level too. Like a lot of teachers are stuck in the pay scale of the district, and maybe they're looking for upward mobility. And so if you're getting paid more at this other school, and maybe it's in a rougher part of town, it's a little bit tougher to operate, but you're getting a huge pay raise, and hopefully that's another component of the private money also. Your private infusion of cash could go to increase salaries for teachers. Maybe you have a smaller class ratio, student ratio. So, the key, education's complicated, but it's not complicated, right? So the two main things we can do to better educate kids is have a high quality teacher in a small class size. That's the two things we can do, and so this would allow that to occur.
Chair
Chair,
Tipton, you
if I
had
could-
another-
yes.
Yes, go ahead.
And Chair West, you correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I don't believe that a school district is required to contract with a third-party entity.
They are not, no.
They could
Yeah.
they could do this within their own school district, their own capacity, ask for the waivers, so they're not required to,
Yep.
to use a third-party entity. 207 just gives them the ability to contract with a third-party entity. So again, that's the decision by the local school board whether or not that's in their best interest or not. And I'll also point out, school districts already contract for services all the time. Mental health services. Maybe there is a specialized one of the curriculum that they need help with. So they're already contracting in smaller ways. This is simply, and I think I've always felt the term contract school was a more appropriate term than some of these other terms, because you're contracting for a service. And with that service, there's a contract, and you need to make sure that contract is in the best interest of the school district and the students.
Can I make a comment on that, Mr. Chair? To dovetail what he said,
Okay.
just for the record, last year If someone has a problem with third-party contracting, we have schools in Kentucky that are on CSI status. And so KD is coming in to take over that school and hopefully take it to a better place. Jefferson County JCPS last year asked us for the opportunity to allow them to bring in third-party contractors to handle the schools under CSI status. And so some of these districts are seeking the third-party outside help to come in and help them.
Okay. Co-Chair Riley, and then we need to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Central West and Representative Tipton, appreciate your testimony. I know you guys' heart, you really truly care about education and our students and their success. You mentioned early on that all students would be allowed to go to the innovation/charter schools. Could a student be removed from those schools based on discipline issues, attendance issues, poor performance? Could they be removed from those schools for their purpose and be required to go back to whatever other schools were located in that district?
I think this. I can come back to you later with the more detailed answer, but I'm 99% accurate on this. The same rules would apply to the district, the normal public school system. So, can you expel a child? Yeah, I mean you could, but it's the same rules that would apply to any other. Can you suspend a child? You can suspend it.
Yeah,
Just the same would apply.
And I think my question also is this. So a lot of times a charter school or innovative school specifically is trying to do certain things.
Yes.
And leave a certain kind of education. Could the administration of that school say, this kid's not going to be successful here. He's not behaving well. He's not, his attendance is not good. He needs to go back to so-and-so high school in our district. And that's kind of the question I'm getting at is what would be the parameters on all that?
That's an interesting question. I don't have a complete answer for you, but what's interesting about this bill is when I was presenting it in Senate Education last year, Senator Thomas asked the question is, could Fayette County take its existing magnet school and turn it into a school of innovation? I think you can. So it goes, it's on both ends of the spectrum. You could. Now, those magnet schools that are currently happening, they have certain standards and certain selection procedures within the district that point these kids to these magnet schools. So probably you could, but it would all be under the umbrella of the contract, right? And so if one of these schools of innovation got a little too cute, and wasn't doing things appropriately, then there would be accountability. You want to add to that?
Well, we passed House Bill 563, which allows students to go from one district to another district if that school has capacity. You talk about discipline problems. I know a lot of students get sent to alternative schools within the district. That's a possibility. It could be that I would think that'd be a decision for the parent to make as it relates to 563 or not. And of course, that's going outside the district to another school within the district. But I would hope if there's an issue that the principal, the administration, the parents would sit down and do what's best for that student. But I don't see anything the way the bill is written that would allow them to just say, "Hey, you're not allowed to come to this school anymore," because it is public education. And there would, in my opinion, they would not be allowed to just go out and say, "Hey, you don't come here anymore," unless there's a specific issue of discipline or maybe to an alternative school
or truancy.
All right. Thank you to our two Education Committee chairmen. We appreciate that, and that was an important discussion to have. That's a continuing discussion. So would EKU be ready to come up? And I didn't mention before, Joe Berkeley is with us, the superintendent at Pendleton. So thanks for coming. And does anybody have anybody else to recognize? All right, introduce yourselves and the topic.
Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. This is a great opportunity. We want to express how grateful we are to the General Assembly for your support of Model Lab School. I am Amy Scarborough. I'm the Vice President of Public Affairs for EKU. Next to me is Dr. John Williamson. He is the Superintendent of Model Lab. Behind us, we have Eric Collings, who is the Chief of Staff at Model Lab. And many of you know Jordan Smith already. Jordan joined EKU several weeks ago as the Assistant Vice President of Public Affairs, and we're thrilled to have him on board. So I'm going to turn it over to John to talk about Model Lab. Thank you.
Well, good morning. I'd like for you first to imagine with me, if you will, a K-12 school where kids are learning at high levels, where they are solving problems, they're creating, they're performing, they're designing, they're engineering, they're having fun, and they're engaged. Imagine that same school where future teachers, education majors, are in that school from their very first college class, working with students, applying the theories that they're learning from the college classroom right alongside a master teacher. Imagine that same scenario when what is being learned and done in that school is being shared with teachers across the Commonwealth to help them become better teachers and better educators. This is the vision that we have at Eastern Kentucky University and Model Lab School for transforming education in the Commonwealth. My name is John Williamson. I am the Dean of P-12 Programs at the university, the Superintendent at Model Lab School. I'm a lifelong educator. I grew up in Pike County. I was a teacher and administrator in Johnson County, Montgomery County. I was a superintendent at Fort Thomas Independent. Spent a brief time at the Kentucky Department of Education. And spent several years in New York working with the College Board and the AP program to design assessments and curriculum resources for teachers. And now I'm proud to be back at my alma mater, EKU, running and leading the work of innovation at Model Lab. The first thing I want to say is, as Chair Tipton mentioned, he was at our groundbreaking for the new school. And we are so grateful at EKU and Model Lab to the General Assembly and each of you who've helped support and make that dream a reality. We had our groundbreaking in the spring. We are now construction underway. We will open that school in the fall of 28. Right now, we are educating students in a building that was built in 1961. The infrastructure is just gone. I mean, there are days we don't have heat, there are days we don't have air, but that's not a problem for us because building doesn't make a school, and we're looking forward to our new building. But as we think about education and what we do at Model and what we do for the students of the Commonwealth, I want you all to know that Model Lab School was founded in 1906 along with EKU as a teacher's college. The university has been supportive of Model Lab education and the role education plays at the university, and all through since 1906 has continued to support and maintain Model Lab. And so when we think about what we do in 2020, because we were the last remaining lab school and the university was valuing what we did and the Commonwealth was valuing it as well, it was codified into legislation in KRS 164-380 as the Commonwealth's lab school. So we are the last remaining lab school in Kentucky. We are a P-12 public school. We have open admission, open enrollment. We do not select students. It's first come, first serve until we're at capacity. The students who are at Model Lab come from 9 districts. We have around 760 students this year. 10% of those students are students with disabilities, and all of our students take the same assessments that all other students in the Commonwealth take. In addition to serving P-12 students, we also are a lab for undergraduate students at the university. And while you might expect that pre-service educators come there, they do. Last year we had students doing clinical experiences in excess of 12,500 hours of clinical work right at Model Lab. But in addition to educators, we also serve as a lab for occupational therapists, psychologists, mental health professionals. They all come and work with our students and get actually hands-on learning experiences before they graduate. Recently, we've opened up a Center for Educator Excellence where we provide professional learning opportunities for teachers who are in service. Last year, we had over 300 teachers on our campus living and learning about how to be a better teacher in their classrooms back in their home districts. We like to think about what we do every day as a tradition of excellence. Our students perform well. Our teachers are master teachers in the classroom. As you look at our test scores, they've been consistently high performing. We're in the top 10 of high schools. We were rated in the highest possible state rating in our elementary school last year. All of our graduates do senior projects and capstone presentations. And we have a college readiness rate of 96.4. And this year we were awarded the AP Platinum School of Excellence, which is a national award that is given to only to the top 7% of schools that offer advanced placement coursework. So we're very proud of our students and our teachers and what they do. And we like to think that we're able to do that pretty efficiently. When you look at how much we spend per student, I think most of you know that we have an allocation from the General Assembly at around $4.6 million annually. This number was established in 2021 and has remained the same amount every year since. So you can imagine that as our population increases, which it has since we started this in 2021, we are now at 758 students where we were at 659. That money doesn't go as far. So the per pupil allotment the first year was $7,500 per student, but when we have 100 more students, that amount goes to $6,000 per student because the dollar figure has been flat. So the additional funding is supplemented by parents who pay tuition for their students to go there. So this has been a challenge because we don't know exactly how many students we have, and as the costs increase, the money stays the same. So that is one thing we would like to ask that you can reconsider is how the funding formula works, and rather than have a flat amount, base it on a per pupil. I also want to point out that we do not receive any other SEEK dollars or any other federal dollars for IDEA, for supporting students with disabilities, although we serve them in the same way that all other public schools do. We don't have any funding for the school lunch program or Title I, Title II, Title IV, none of the title programs as well. And we are not able to levy any taxes, so there has to be additional funding, and that all comes from parents. So when we talk about our overall per pupil spending, and the most recent audited data that we can get from the Kentucky Department of Education shows that the Kentucky average is $19,000 per student, and in the same year, our per pupil spending is $13,000 per student. So we're able to do what we're able to do with the success that we're able to do it at about a third less cost than other school districts are doing that. So we think we're pretty efficient in the way we operate our schools and the way we function. As we think about what Model Lab is doing now and what we want to do in the future, we certainly want to continue to support our K-12 students, our P-12 students. We want to think about how we are supporting undergraduates across all the different majors, and we are looking to explore the idea of a residential academy to go along with the DO school that the university is asking for from you as well. So we're thinking about how we would increase the visibility of future health professionals and start that education in the 11th and 12th grade so that they're ready to roll into a DO school when they graduate. So that's where we want to go next to sort of help beyond just education priorities, but also into the healthcare sector. So as we think about what we have talked about today, we want to remind you that we have a strong tradition of success since 1906. We serve PK through 12 students. We support our College of Education and training of the next generation of educators. We support a professional learning center for in-service educators. And we are exploring about how we can assist with the healthcare industry as well. And again, I want to just to leave with one final ask, is that as you do your budget for next year, if you can consider thinking about how the cost of living adjustments can be factored in, and our per pupil allocation being tied to the number of students that we have rather than a flat amount, it would make our budgeting and our process much more effective. So I do thank you for your time and attention today, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Very good. Thank you for that presentation. So, do we have any questions? Senator McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doctor, thank you for being here today. Amy as well. A couple of quick questions for you here. And first of all, let me say, yeah, Model it's a gem of a school. Make no mistake about it, right? And the results speak for themselves. But you referenced a first come, first serve until you're at capacity. But you do charge tuition, as you stated there. It's first come, first serve for people who can pay the tuition, correct?
Yes, there is some financial aid, but it's minimal. But there is some financial aid for some students. We have about 3% of our students who would qualify for free and reduced lunch.
Right, but the amount of aid is fairly limited. By and large, you have to be able to pay the tuition to attend Model
that's
school.
correct.
Right. And then my understanding is that Model disproportionately serves faculty and staff at Eastern Kentucky University.
I don't know how you define disproportionately, but I would tell you that about 20% of our students, one or more of their parents work at EKU, 20%.
Well, I would say, with the Madison County running about 100,000 folks right now, total EKU employs about 2,500. So if it was just Madison County, you're looking at 2.5% are employed at EKU, but 20% of the children in your school have parents who are professors there. And I'm just, and I say this to say, like, you guys are a gym, and we were proud to be able to upgrade those facilities very dramatically. But it's very, very different from a normal public school as well, both in the character in the types of parents that you have, the education level of the parents who support that school, and it largely speaks to what some of my colleagues spoke to earlier about charter schools and the way that they function and the ability of parents to be selective. And so I applaud your success. I want to start with, I do applaud that. But Model is absolutely a charter school, and it's a very effective charter school. And frankly, you make the case for why these parents should be given these options, particularly the very few who can qualify for financial aid in your case, because it is giving them a leg up. And so I continue to applaud you. I continue to look forward to seeing how we can help and partner and hopefully attract the best and the brightest to the DO school, because they will be, they will look to a place like that. I mean, it's what parents want, is something better for their children.
Sure.
And so I applaud you for that, and I do think that it's important to note exactly how the overall educational mechanism works there, and I do congratulate you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thanks. Senator West? No? Anybody else? All right, we'll move along then. Okay. Representative Kleins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up on Senator McDaniel's point about professors. So 20% of the 758 are children of professors?
Well, I don't want to
Right.
say just professors, because some
Or
of them
employees.
are employees or staff members, but yes.
Do they have the same admission requirements?
Yes.
Like,
There are no admissions.
There are no admission requirements. It's just first come, first serve until we're at capacity. So
they have to be part of that first come, first serve, right?
yes.
Are there any
Yes.
employee discounts?
Only for if it's a contractual thing with the university for the president, or if they teach at Model, there's a small discount if they're a faculty member at Model but not at the university.
Okay. So,
All right, thanks so much. Great work.
Thank you.
All right, we have to go out of order a little bit and we're going to go with NKU next because they've got a time constraint. So I hope that's okay with the other groups. So NKU, come forward and introduce yourselves and proceed.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jenny Sand. I'm the Executive Director of Government and Community Relations at Northern Kentucky University. And thank you for rearranging the schedule for us. We did have a hard stop for one of our speakers. We're also excited to share about one of our most successful and growing programs, the Young Scholars Academy. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, and I'll work the computer while they're doing their introductions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. We are really happy to speak to you about Young Scholars Academy at Northern Kentucky University. My name is Dan Ginn. I serve as the Director of Educational Partnerships.
My name's Mike Bort. There we go. My name's Mike Borchers. I'm the special advisor to the president of NKU and a recovering retired superintendent. So I've met many of you and talked with you and worked with you over the years. So thank you very much for having us.
So we just want to tell you a little bit about the mission and vision of Young Scholars Academy. So Young Scholars Academy at its core is all about access. We believe in access to and support through post-secondary education for all types of learners. This experience is immersive on NKU's campus, and it has been built for and by Northern Kentucky, by our schools, our university, our families, our scholars, our alumni, all across the board. These students have the opportunity to be immersed on campus through a variety of experiences. They have the opportunity to be immersed in that important college transition experience, career exploration and preparation, as well as holistic development. And through that experience, they really have the opportunity we have the opportunity to serve not only those students who are motivated to attend college, but those students who maybe are unsure if they can, so providing access across the board. And through the time in their 2 years at YSA, they have the opportunity to grow and learn not only about themselves, but about career opportunities and how they hope to impact the world beyond high school.
Okay. Some of the purpose of the program is to obviously introduce our students to the early college and take full advantage of the dual credit opportunities that have been offered through the years. NKU has worked really hard. Anyone who's from Northern Kentucky knows that NKU is a very strong regional university and serves our region and all of our K through 12 partners. So we've been working to keep our kids in the region so that we can help our workforce pipeline throughout the years. The Young Scholars Academy works with that same purpose as the university. And Dr. Thompson, you all hear about opportunity and access. And this is a great way for the students of Northern Kentucky to have an opportunity to see post-secondary and be able to access